So let's say then that you've remembered the truth. Ah, yes, God is real, spirit is alive, the entire creation is made of light, which God calls good, and the primordial flavor of that light is love, and nothing that has been created came from anything else but that. So therefore, I am an infinitely beloved and belonging strand of God, sovereign over energy and element, and with all the co-creative authority of the Christ to choose love in every decision. Whoops, there goes that glass. In every decision and in every action that I take in life. Okay, so we've remembered that. That's the first mastery when you're going the sovereign way. So if you've remembered the truth, then logically, the second mastery is to recognize what's not the truth. And I want to let you know about a beautiful course called The 5 Essential Abilities of the Sovereign Co-Creator. It is a 2-hour video course with a handbook and a Bible study, and it's free with your membership in the Oasis, guys. That's our sovereign study group. So all you guys have to do is log in and go to your online courses and find it. And it looks like this. I'm sharing my screen so you can see it. Oh. Okay, I'm not going to share that right now. I will send you, I don't know, a screenshot maybe. Let me rewind. So if you've remembered the truth, then logically the second mastery is to recognize what's not the truth. So let's do a thought experiment called Life is equal parts truth and story, and your enlightenment is knowing the difference. Every story that you tell about what is happening out there and what is possible for you is a configuration of the facts that you've chosen to count, and the opposition is telling the white space, the story of the configuration of the facts that you've chosen to discount. We all know this. We understand. It's like the constellations in the skies. We look up at the stars and then we join the dots and we say, ah, yes, that is a large bear. And then we tell each other that it's a large bear, and we make agreement that if we join the dots that way, it looks a bit like a large bear. And these dots can be joined over here to make a sort of an archer with a simple belt. And then I point that out to Christy, and then Christy points that out to Megan, and then we all agree, and so it is, that is an archer. But another culture on another side of the world looks at the same dots and joins them differently. No, it's a crab, actually. So we synthesize the data that comes to us in that way through cognitive dissonance and the law of attraction, and we say, this is what's happening. For example, there are even some of us in this group on this call, and we have so much in common, but some of us even have almost opposing views of what seems to be happening in the world. And some of us are dead set on believing that we are in possession of the truth, which makes the opposing view, our friend, brother and sister in the group here, makes them either stupid, insane, or evil, because we see it as not true. So it's so important to recognize the distinction between a universal truth, or God's will, and a temporal story. So in process philosophy, we often say that there's a difference between what's actually occurring and what's really happening. So it's the distinction between what is actually occurring out there in the process reality of our shared infrastructure and what seems to be happening to me from within my intimately personal experience. What's actually occurring is that the stars are twinkling in the sky above. But what's really happening for me is a wave of inspiration as I contemplate my life in communion with the great Orion and his wisdom landing into my innermost chambers as I gaze upon his belt. So what's really happening for some is not really happening for others. For example, what's actually occurring in the US, in my homeland right now, is that many structures are being dismantled. And what's really happening for some is an incredible liberation and victory over illusion. And what's really happening for others is a terrifying and life-changing experience of dictatorship and control. These stories are really happening, whatever is actually occurring. So what is true and what is story? What is true and what is story? Now imagine being so masterful at your discernment of the truth versus story, that the stories that are occurring all around you become the mythology, the stage of your life's experience in which you do your being, in which you pour forward and pour out and bring forth your mission and your purpose. Because after all, you cannot avoid story, for there are always going to be creative limitations inherent to who you are. And you keep bumping into people, other people who spill their story into yours and vice versa. You will make judgments. You will limit the borders of your human experience. And since truth is objective and life is subjective, the only place where you can ever truly meet another is in the stories that brew between us. And compassion is the key. The grave error is when you make the mistake that the story is God's truth, and you allow the story to influence your decision-making to come from any other place than love. That's the error in story. So to be sovereign, you must know story from truth. Type that in. Everyone in the Oasis, type that in now. To be sovereign, you must know truth from story. Pablo Picasso said, "Art is a lie that makes us realize truth." Apply this to your life also, and understand that everything you see, everything, whether it is beautiful and mysterious or dark and horrifying, everything you see is merely a distortion of God's truth. Your entire life is being experienced through the filter of what you have chosen to make agreement with. So it's your artwork. You're the one joining the dots. It's your artwork from the most obvious, like what are your core values? What matters most to you and what influences your decision-making? And of course, where do you put your attention and how do you train the algorithm of your life to respond to you? And also, how well do you listen? How well do you listen for the voice of God calling you beyond those limits? And how do you interpret the gifts of manifestation and the inner narrative about what's happening for you and what might happen next? Most of your life is a very private vibrational universe, and that's truly lovely and sacred. But there is a greater reality than the one each of us is living, and we must allow ourselves to expand into each other if our purpose is to realize truth. There's a difference between revealing facts and realizing truth, because facts must still be synthesized and lines must still be drawn between dots, images and characters becoming distinct among the stars. Each of us, in our own sovereign life, must disarm and disperse the stories that draw our awareness and our identity from love. From love and into the chaos of doubt, anxiety, hesitation, procrastination, codependency and terror, stagnation, vanity and self-pity, righteous indignation, and so on. When you recognize these, the frequencies submit to your authority as quickly as they're identified. In truth and in love, you are sovereign over all these energies. The mastery is recognizing what's essence and what's structure, what's actually occurring and what's really happening, what's truth and what's story, what is God creating and how am I experiencing, and how well do I listen? I want to try again and share something that I think is so beautiful, which is the course called The 5 Essential Abilities of the Sovereign Co-Creator, where the first ability is to receive and comprehend a spiritual transmission without bias, distortion, error, or omission. And the first step is to get that the source of life, the sovereign God of love, has thoughts towards me that outnumber the grains of sand and that cause me to live again, no matter the depth of despair and death. One of our members in the Oasis a while back said, I shouldn't really ask for prayer because there are so many awful things going on in the world and God has enough on his mind. I know this feeling, but it isn't true. The Father is never too busy for any of us. This is Psalms 139, verses 17 to 18. How precious are your thoughts about me, O God. They cannot be numbered. I can't even count them. They outnumber the grains of sand. And when I wake, you are still with me. And then when I do get lost in synthesis and analysis and complex stories about structures out there in my life that all must eventually fall, let me rest safely knowing that I can always stop and listen and know God. This is John chapter 5, verse 25. Verily, verily, I say unto you, the hour is coming, and now is, when the dead shall hear the voice of the Son of God, and they that hear it shall live. Thank you all very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, follow, comment, share with anyone who might enjoy these unique and uplifting videos from the Sovereign Way. Your engagement helps a movement move, and I'm very grateful for your support. So let's turn off the recording and we'll go to our study group in the Oasis and we'll talk more about the practical stuff around basic and advanced discernment. And we'll, as we did before, we'll share the methods that have worked for us this week and perhaps also some scripture. If you're not in the Oasis but you'd like to be, comment with a heart emoji and then we'll come and find you. And don't forget to buy your copy of The Sovereign Way, this book, on Amazon. Thank you.